Hello, my friends. Dr. Chad Walding here, and I wanted to talk real quick about the truth about healthcare. And this comes from my experience as a physical therapist working in multiple settings. So, my first experience in the healthcare system was working as an intern at a hospital in Houston. And this hospital was world renowned for its treatment in heart disease. And on the second floor of this hospital was a McDonald's. And I would take patients who had just got out of cardiac surgery, and they would ask to be rolled down to this McDonald's, and they would eat McDonald's foods. And honestly, at the time, I did not know much about nutrition, but that just did not sit well with me because I knew that as an athlete, when I ate McDonald's, it didn't make me feel well. I didn't think that it could be good for our health. I didn't think it could be good for our hearts, right? And when I went down to that McDonald's, I would also see lots of nurses and lots of doctors also eating those foods, right? So I started to notice things early on, and when I got out of that internship, I started working at an outpatient clinic. I started to see people with back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, knee pain, all those types of things. And in physical therapy school, I learned that many of the pains that we experience come from musculoskeletal imbalances, poor positions for long periods of time, poor movement patterns, right? But when I talked to the patients, because we would get a long time to talk to them and really get to know them and hear their story, what they were told to do with the pain that they were experiencing was numb it. They were taking pain medications and getting injections and often getting surgeries. In other words, they weren't really getting to the root of their issue, right? So this really got me interested in ancestral health. And what I learned there was that the health of our ancestors was amazing, actually. Many of them were living well into the late 90s and 100s sometimes, and they were virtually free of many of the modern diseases that plague us today. Things like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer. They weren't experiencing those at epidemic rates. So I began going deeper into that, learning as much as I could from podcast, books, many doctors speaking on ancestral health, and this new science that we're learning about, that it's really our environment that's creating many of the problems that we're experiencing with our health, and we have to remember that we spent so much money in advances in technology and science, but we're still experiencing more and more problems with our health because we're not getting to the root of the issue. This really hit me when I started doing home health, and I would go into the homes of people who were dealing with heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all those things. And I would see the foods they were eating. I would see the actual environment they were living in. It was very sad because I'd often see nothing but processed and refined foods, lots of sugar, lots of toxic fats, really poor nutritious foods, white flour, white sugar, things all over the place, right? And then of course I would see oftentimes a nurse come in, and the nurse would often be unhealthy and eating bad foods and drinking bad liquids and give injections and give more medications, right? So the best way I can sum it up is that we have a healthcare industry that knows nothing about food and a food industry that knows nothing about health. That's a Wendell Berry quote, and it really stuck to me. So that got me motivated to actually change something. I knew that I couldn't impact people from within that healthcare system, right? Because my job was just to become a physical therapist and help people with strength and gait and getting out of physical pain. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that it all started with food, right? It started with the foods that we ate, and we're eating way too much sugar, way too many toxic fats, way too many gut irritating foods. So I learned as much as I could, and I started giving presentations at local gyms, and started noticing that the people who took the advice, they were losing weight effortlessly. They were getting out of pain and reducing inflammation much easier than they were before. And I started noticing they had a ripple effect on their family and their friends, and it kind of spread and eventually got connected to some brilliant people who knew how to turn this content into something that we could distribute to the masses. And eventually we created our 30-day challenge, right? And our 30-day challenge is a way for you to completely reset your life, to get away from those old toxic foods, to lose weight effortlessly, and really provide you with a community where you can do this with people and who also want to change their lives. The best way I can describe it is, imagine, have you ever walked into a room of really strong perfume, and you first walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, this room is so toxic. You start sneezing, your eyes get all watery and everything. And you look in that room and there's other people in that room and you ask them, do you guys not smell that? And they say, no, what are you talking about? And you realize they become desensitized to that smell. They no longer recognize the toxicity, right? And then you also stay in that room for a while and you can no longer smell that toxicity. Well, that's reality, right? That's kind of what's happening here, is that we humans have been born into a culture of strong toxic perfume, right? Toxic environments everywhere, and specifically our food environment. So what this 30-day challenge is about is getting you away from those toxic foods and maximizing nutrition and minimizing toxicity and being consistent over and over again and teaching you new habits. And our success rate in these 30 days is phenomenal. We have people not only losing weight, but their skin issues are improving, their mood's improving, their energy is improving. They feel a new sense of purpose in life because they're stepping away from what I like to call a victim mentality and becoming someone who's responsible and stepping into a creator identity. And that is a powerful thing. That's where transformation happens. When you shift how you think, how you act, the words you speak, that's transformation, and that's what we're committed to doing. And I know now that this is the ripple effect that we're looking for to change our culture, but it really begins with you making a decision to say yes to your own transformation and take a step. So as I mentioned, we have this 30-day challenge where we give you all the tools that you need to succeed. We give you the guidebooks so you understand some basic science behind it. We tell you exactly what to eat with meal plans. We give you shopping lists. We check in with you every day via email just to make sure you're accountable, because consistency is the most important thing. And we provide you with a supporting community. This community has 20,000 people, over 20,000 people already in there who have done this challenge, who are going to support you and give you ideas, encourage you, and keep you going. It's honestly the best place in all of Facebook. So if you're someone who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you want to transform your life and you want to commit to it, now is actually the time. We only open the doors to our challenge every so often. So I'm putting this link up above. Go ahead and click on that, learn more about it, and just go ahead and take that step. And just become that difference in your own life. And I know you can do it, okay? So I'll see you in the private Facebook group, and